You swore you would mark me. I was never going to mark you. Of all the cruelties I have suffered, this one broke me most. They dragged her through the snow like she was nothing. Tell me, brother, if she means so little, why does your wolf howl her name every night? I could not let them destroy her. She was born without a scent. The groom cast her out in front of the entire pack. What no one expected was that his exiled brother, the alpha king they all feared, would step out of the shadows and say 3 words that changed everything. Come with me. The winter wind cut through the courtyard like a blade. Seren kept her head down as she crossed toward the servant quarters, her thin shawl offering little protection against the cold. She had learned years ago that invisibility was its own armor. Look who crawls out before dawn. The voice stopped her mid-step. Lady Aurel, daughter of the pack's most influential elder, descended the stone steps with 3 Omega girls trailing behind her. Still breathing, I see. Aurel circled her slowly, nose wrinkling. Tell me, Seren, what does it feel like to be the only Omega in Valdris without a scent? The words landed where they always did. That hollow place beneath her ribs that never healed. Seren was defective. Born to an Omega mother who died bringing her into the world, raised in the pack's orphan quarters until she was old enough to scrub floors. And through all of it, her body had failed to produce what every Omega possessed from birth. The scent that marked them as capable of bonding, of bearing strong pups, of having worth. My existence is not your concern, Lady Aurel. Seren kept her voice flat. I have duties to attend. Duties? Aurel laughed. Is that what you call following Prince Aldrich around like a lost pup? We all know why he keeps you close. A scentless Omega cannot bond. You are safe, convenient, and disposable. The other girls giggled, always giggling. Prince Aldrich's choices are his own, Seren said quietly, as are mine. She moved to step around them, but Aurel gripped her arm. He announced the wedding last night. Aurel's whisper was meant to wound. The whole pack knows, but do not fool yourself into believing you are anything more than entertainment before he takes a real mate. Seren's heart stuttered. Wedding. He announced it. She pulled free and walked away before Aurel could see what those words had done. The cold bit harder now. Or maybe it was something else burning behind her eyes. Aldrich had promised. 3 years of whispered words. And now, he had kept his word. So why did Aurel's warning echo louder than her own hope? Serene paused at the courtyard's edge. Beyond the castle walls, the Ice-Veil Mountains rose like jagged teeth against the pale sky. Somewhere beyond those peaks lay the borderlands where exiles wandered. She did not know why her gaze lingered there, did not understand the strange pull she felt toward those forbidden places. But standing in the cold that morning, Seren could not shake the feeling that someone was watching her. She remembered the first time Aldrich spoke to her. Seren had been 15, hauling water from the well. The bucket was too heavy, the ice too slick. She had fallen hard, water soaking through her dress as laughter erupted from the windows above. Then a shadow fell over her. That looked painful. She looked up into the face of the most beautiful boy she had ever seen. Prince Aldrich, second son of the Alpha King, golden-haired and summer-eyed, standing over a soaked servant girl as if she were worth noticing. Here. He offered his hand. Let me help you. His grip was warm, steady. When he pulled her up, something shifted in her chest. You are stronger than you look, he said. I have seen you carrying loads twice your size. Most Omegas would have collapsed. I do not have the luxury of collapsing, my prince. He laughed. Not at her. With her. I like that. You are different, Seren. That was the beginning. Over 4 years, Aldrich found reasons to cross her path. He requested her when he needed chambers cleaned. He walked through the kitchens when she worked there, always pausing to speak with her. You deserve better than this, he told her once in the stables where she hid from Aurel's cruelty. One day I will give you better. Promises. Always promises. He never spoke them loudly. only glances that lingered. Touches too deliberate to be accidents. Smiles meant only for her. Crumbs. She gathered them desperately, convincing herself they would become something whole. But Aldrich also disappeared. He would vanish for weeks with noble Omega girls, return with stories Seren pretended not to hear, then come back to her as if nothing had changed. As if she were a harbor he could always return to. "The wedding is in 5 days," she whispered now, standing in her tiny room. She touched the silver ring he had given her in secret, hidden on a cord beneath her dress. He chose me, despite everything. But beneath the hope, a small voice whispered words she could not silence. "If he truly wanted you, why did it take 3 years? Why always in secret?" She did not notice him at first. The figure at the forest's edge was half hidden by shadow and snowfall, so still he might have been carved from winter itself. But she felt him. Seren paused at the well, bucket heavy in her hands, and turned toward the tree line. The sensation was strange, a pressure at the base of her skull, an awareness without explanation. She had felt it before, dozens of times over the past 2 years, in the courtyard during chores, in the corridors when she carried linens, in the great hall when she served at feasts. Always that prickling awareness, always the sense of eyes tracking her. Today was different. Today, she saw him. The man stood perhaps 100 paces beyond the boundary stones, tall, broad-shouldered, built like a warrior. Though distance obscured his features, Seren felt the weight of his gaze clearly. "Who are you?" She should have been afraid. Strangers at the boundary meant danger. But fear was not what she felt. It was recognition. Not of his face. She did not know him, but of something deeper. A resonance, like a tuning fork struck at the right frequency. The man did not move. He simply watched with an intensity that made the air feel thicker. Then he stepped into the shadows and was gone. "Seren!" Marta, the head cook, stood at the kitchen door. "Stop daydreaming. The Alpha Queen wants fresh water now." Seren forced herself to move, but glanced back at the tree line. Empty. That night, she asked Marta about the borderlands. "Nothing out there but death," Marta scoffed. "Rogues and beasts and one dangerous exile." "Who?" Marta's voice dropped. "Prince Kael, the Alpha King's firstborn, banished 12 years ago after he refused to slaughter innocents during the border wars. His own brother testified against him." "Brother?" "Aldrich." Marta shook her head. "They say the king favored Kael, but Aldrich convinced the council he was dangerous. Now Kael roams those mountains, building an army, waiting." Seren turned the name over in her mind. Kael. Aldrich's exiled brother. An exiled prince watching from shadows while a scentless Omega prepared to marry the brother who had betrayed him. It should have terrified her. So why did it feel like hope? The great hall had been transformed. Silver banners hung from the ceiling. Hundreds of candles flickered in iron chandeliers. And everywhere, people in their finest clothes turned to stare as she entered. "There she is," Aldrich's voice rang out. "My bride." He crossed to her in 3 strides, resplendent in blue velvet. When he raised her hand to his lips, a murmur rippled through the crowd. "This is real." "You look beautiful," Aldrich whispered. "I told you I would give you better." "My lords and ladies," he announced, "in 3 days at the winter binding, I will take Seren as my bonded mate." The silence was deafening. She saw it on their faces, shock, disbelief, disgust. It was everything she had wanted. "This is madness," someone muttered, but Aldrich's hand tightened on hers. "Let them talk. They will learn to bow." Seren wanted to believe him, but as her gaze drifted across the hall, she noticed something. The shadows near the far wall seemed darker than they should be, and within them stood a figure she had seen before. Dark cloak, broad shoulders, eyes that caught candlelight like a wolf's. Kael. He was inside the castle. watching her while the pack celebrated, oblivious. His expression looked like warning. Then Aldrich pulled her toward the dance floor, and when she looked back, the shadows were empty. She arrived the next morning. 6 white horses pulled a carriage of polished ebony through the gates. Riders in crimson cloaks bore an unfamiliar sigil. "Who is that?" Seren asked a servant. "Lady Lysara of Ashval." The girl paled. "They say she destroys anyone in her way." The carriage opened, and a woman stepped out. Lysara was stunning the way a blade was stunning. Beautiful, deadly, designed for destruction. Wine-dark hair, sea ice eyes that swept the courtyard with precision. When those eyes found Seren, they stopped. Lysara smiled without warmth and inclined her head before gliding inside. "She knows who I am. Stay away from that one." Seren turned. A young woman stood beside her, brown hair, sharp eyes, and plain clothes. "I am Bryony, 15th cousin of someone important enough for me to be here, invisible enough for me to notice everything." "What do you mean?" "Lady Lysara came for Aldrich. Her pack has been negotiating an alliance for months. She expected to seal it with a mating bond." Bryony's eyes cut to Seren. "Then you happened." Seren's stomach dropped. Aldrich never mentioned. Men like him never do. Bryony stepped closer. "Lysara has ruined 4 engagements. The Omegas who stood in her way suffered accidents or disgraces. One vanished entirely. You think she would? She already sees you as an obstacle." Bryony touched her arm. "You are fighting a war you do not know exists. Be careful." That evening, Seren watched Lysara sit beside Aldrich at dinner. The distance was proper, but Lysara laughed too often. Her hand touched his arm too casually, and Aldrich leaned toward her with attention he had never shown publicly before. He is just being polite. But the cold in her chest would not thaw. 2 days before the ceremony, Aldrich stopped coming. He sent servants with excuses, meetings, negotiations, duties. But she saw him walking with Lysara in the gardens. She saw them sparring, Aldrich laughing at her lethal grace. She saw his eyes drift to the dark-haired woman during meals. The whispers grew louder. He is having second thoughts. Lady Lysara is everything that Omega is not. On the night before the ceremony, Seren found Aldrich alone in the moonlit garden. "Is it still happening?" The words came sharper than intended. "Tomorrow. The binding." "Of course." He reached for her hands. "Why would you ask?" "Because you have not looked at me in 2 days. Because Lysara sits where I should sit." "Seren." His hands cupped her face. "You are imagining things. Lysara is a political complication. I must be diplomatic. But my choice is made." "Is it?" "Yes." He kissed her forehead. "Trust me, I would never let you down." He left her with those words, and she wanted to believe them. But as she turned to go inside, she saw him. Kale stood at the garden wall, close enough that she could finally see his face. Sharp features, dark brown, smoke-colored eyes, a scar along his jaw. He was beautiful the way winter was beautiful, harsh and impossible to look away from. "You heard?" she whispered. "I heard a man who does not know his own mind." His voice was low, rough, and a woman who deserves better than uncertainty. "What do you want from me?" He studied her face as if memorizing it. "I want nothing from you, but the ceremony tomorrow will not go as you expect. And when it falls apart..." He stepped closer. "You will have a choice." "What choice?" "To break," Kyle murmured. "Or to begin again." He vanished before she could respond. What did he know that she did not? The morning of the winter binding dawned gray and bitter. Seren stood before her mirror in the ceremonial gown, white as snow, embroidered with silver. Winter roses braided in her dark hair. She looked like a bride. She felt like a sacrifice. The great hall was packed. Every noble family had come. The elders sat in ceremonial robes, and at the front, beneath an arch of frozen branches, stood Aldrich. He did not turn when she entered. Seren walked the long aisle alone, each step heavier than the last, the whispers cut like knives. She actually came. Does she not see his face? She reached the platform. Aldrich finally turned. Her breath caught. His eyes were empty, not nervous or excited, simply vacant, as if he had already left this moment. Aldrich, she whispered. What is wrong? He did not answer. Elder Vorath stepped forward. Lord Aldrich, do you come freely to claim this Omega as your bonded mate? Silence stretched. 1 heartbeat. 2. 3. I cannot. The word detonated. I cannot claim her. Aldrich's voice grew stronger. I acted rashly. A union of this nature would weaken our standing. I must consider alliances that serve Valdris. The hall erupted. You promised me. The words scraped from Serene's throat. 3 years. He finally met her eyes. What she saw was worse than cruelty. Relief. I am sorry, but someone like you? He gestured vaguely at her scentless body. Surely you understood. Someone like you. The phrase buried itself in her chest. Remove her. Aurel's voice rang out. She has no place here. Hands seized Serene's arms. Guards dragged her backward down the aisle. Not like that, Aldrich said weakly. She does not deserve. She deserves exactly this. Commander Theron, Aldrich's uncle and regent since the old king's death, stepped forward. The girl aimed above her station. The great doors opened. Winter wind rushed in. They threw her. Seren hit the snow hard. The cold bit through her thin gown immediately. Behind her, the doors slammed shut, muffled laughter from within. She lay there staring at the gray sky. The girl who believed she could be loved died in that snow. Something colder began stirring in her place. Footsteps crunched through the snow. Can you stand? She turned her head. Kyle stood over her, dark cloak rippling, eyes blazing. Behind him, warriors waited in the tree line. Why are you here? Her voice came out broken. Because I made a promise. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. He extended his hand, palm up. Come with me. Seren stared at that hand. Behind her lay everything she knew, the castle, the pack, and the memories of false promises. Before her lay the unknown. Why would you help me? Because you deserve someone who is certain. His voice was rough, and I have never been more certain of anything. Seren reached up and took his hand. Kale pulled her up in one motion. Before she found her balance, his cloak wrapped around her shoulders, heavy, smelling of pine and wood smoke. Can you walk? I think so. Then walk quickly. Warriors emerged from shadows. A dozen men and women with hard faces forming a protective circle toward the mountains. Who are they? Seren asked. My people? The ones who followed me into exile. They moved at a punishing pace. Seren's feet went numb within minutes, but she refused to slow. The cold was nothing compared to the fire building in her chest. Behind them, howls began. They are following. A scarred woman with silver-streaked hair fell into step. Theron's trackers. 6, maybe 8. How long? 20 minutes. Less if she falters. Without warning, Kale swept Seren off her feet. I can walk, she protested. Not fast enough. He was already moving, and I will not lose you now. They climbed higher, following paths only Kale knew. The forest gave way to rocky outcroppings, then narrow passages between walls of ice. The howls faded, confused by false trails. Finally, as the sun set, they emerged onto a ledge overlooking a hidden valley. Seren's breath caught. Below them, nestled against the mountain, lay a fortress built from the earth itself. Smoke rose from 100 chimneys. Lights flickered in windows carved into rock. Hundreds of people moved through the streets. Thornhaven, Kale said, my home. And now, if you choose, yours. You built all this? We built it together. Everyone here was cast out, abandoned and broken. We found each other. His eyes met hers. We made our own light. I do not understand. Why risk everything for a scentless Omega? Kyle was silent. When he spoke, his voice was rough. For 2 years I have watched you. I have seen your strength when no one bothered to look. Your kindness to those weaker. Your refusal to break. He stepped closer. I could not watch them destroy you. Not when I had the power to stop it. Tears burned behind her eyes. I have nothing to offer. No scent. No family. No value. You have everything. His hand brushed hair from her face. You simply do not know it yet. The days that followed blurred together. Kyle gave her chambers in Thornhaven's eastern wing, rooms carved from living rock but warmed by clever ventilation. For the first time, Seren had a door she could lock from inside. She did not know what to do with safety. You barely touched breakfast. Mira, the silver-haired warrior, stood in the doorway. I am not hungry. Liar. Mira sat on the bed. You are starving, terrified, and wondering when the other boot drops. I felt the same when I arrived. Seren looked at her. You were cast out? Thrown off a cliff. My alpha decided I asked too many questions. Mira smiled grimly. Kale found me broken on the rocks, carried me up the mountain, spent 3 weeks by my bedside. Why would he do that? Because that is who he is. The packs paint him as a monster. They do not want anyone knowing the truth, that Kale was banished for refusing to slaughter innocents, that his own brother testified against him. He watches you, Mira added, even when you do not see. He watches everyone, not like he watches you. That night, Kale walked her back from the gathering hall. You did well tonight, he said. I did nothing. You survived. You showed them strength. He stopped at her door. That is more than most could manage. Seren studied his face in the torchlight. That night in the garden, you said I would have a choice. Did you know what Aldrich would do? Kale's expression tightened. I suspected. I had sources inside Valdris. The rejection was planned before you walked down that aisle. You could have warned me. Would you have believed me? They both knew the answer. No, she admitted. So I waited. I positioned my people to reach you the moment they cast you out, because I knew they would throw away the most valuable thing they possessed without understanding what they were losing. Kale, you do not have to say anything. He stepped back. You are safe here. The rest can wait until you are ready. He walked away. That night, Seren dreamed of wolves running through snow, one black as midnight, one silver as starlight. Their howls intertwined into a single song. She woke with her skin burning. Something was wrong. Seren sat up gasping, drenched in sweat. Heat built beneath her skin like fire searching for fuel. Her senses screamed. She could hear conversations 3 floors below. She could smell the pine forests beyond the mountain, the smoke from kitchens, individual scents of 100 people. Beneath the chaos, something ancient was uncurling inside her. The door burst open. Kyle stood there, chest heaving, eyes blazing gold. He wore only loose trousers, as if he had leaped from bed and run. Seren, what is happening? I do not know. The words came as a whimper. I feel like I am burning. He crossed the room and stopped just short of touching her. Your scent. His voice shook. Seren, I can smell you. Impossible. She had never had a scent. What is happening to me? Your wolf. Kyle's voice was barely a whisper. She is waking. Pain lanced through her body, her back arched. Bones shifted, muscles tore and rebuilt, cells rearranged. Do not fight it. Kale's hands found her, one on her back, one cradling her head. I have you. The transformation took her. One moment she was Seren, the broken Omega. The next, she was something else. She opened unfamiliar eyes, seeing the room in shades of silver. She looked down and saw paws instead of hands, fur white as snow, claws like polished bone. By the old gods. Mira's voice came from the doorway. She is a winter wolf. Seren did not understand, but she understood the weight behind the words. The way Mira dropped to one knee, the way warriors behind her did the same. They said the bloodline was extinct. Kale's voice cracked. 300 years since the last winter wolf walked. Knowledge flooded her. Inherited memory. Winter wolves were sacred. The first wolves. Their scent remained dormant until their true mate awakened it. True mate. Her wolf turned toward Kale, and she knew. The scent that filled her senses, that called to something eternal inside her, belonged to him. His wolf had recognized her from the beginning. He had simply been waiting for hers to wake. Mate. She shifted back, kneeling naked, tears streaming. Kale wrapped his shirt around her shoulders without hesitation. You knew, she whispered, this whole time. I suspected. My wolf recognized something in you, but without your wolf awake, I could not be certain. And now? He pressed his forehead to hers. Now I am asking. Tell me everything, Seren whispered. The room had emptied. Mira had cleared the doorway. Why did you wait? Why let me walk into that ceremony? Pain flickered across his features. Because I had no right to claim you. I was an exile. What could I offer except hiding in mountains? You could have offered truth. Would it have been enough? His hands tightened on her shoulders. You loved him. I could not tell you your feelings were misplaced. You needed to see it yourself. You needed to choose freely. He was right. If Kale had appeared before the ceremony, she would have rejected him. I see you now, she said. I choose you now. Kyle went still. You asked if I would accept the bond. She let him see everything she felt. Yes, I accept. The sound he made was not quite human. Then he kissed her. This was not gentle. This was years of watching and wanting, released in one moment. Kale kissed her like she was oxygen, and he had been drowning. Seren answered with equal ferocity. Her hands found his hair, his shoulders, and his back. I have wanted this, Kale breathed against her throat, since I first saw you stand back up after they knocked you down. I have wanted this since before I knew what wanting meant. When they joined, the bond snapped into place. She could feel Kale, not just his body, but his emotions, the vast love he had carried in silence. And she let him feel her. All her pain, all her hope, all the broken pieces. The bond fused them together with gold. Afterward, tangled in furs, her head on his chest, Seren spoke. They will come for us, when they learn what I am. Let them come. Kyle's voice was steel. I have waited 12 years. I have built an army. And now I have something worth fighting for. What happens next? We show them what they threw away. A predatory smile curved his lips. Then we take everything back. Word spread like wildfire. Within a week, every pack had heard. A winter wolf had awakened. The extinct bloodline lived, and she was bonded to the exiled king. Valdris demanded her return. Kale sent their envoy back without horses or dignity. Ashvale sent Lysara with alliance offers. Kale refused her audience. Then, when the full moon rose, Kale called a gathering of all packs. The great plateau beyond Thornhaven was neutral ground. Delegations arrived warily. Valdris sent Commander Theron with Aldrich at his side. Ashvale sent their alpha with Lysara trailing. Seren stood beside Kale in a cloak of white fur matching her wolf. You called this gathering. Theron's voice dripped contempt. Speak, exile. Kyle stepped forward. I called you to correct a mistake. 15 days ago, you threw a woman into the snow. You believed she was worthless. Murmurs rippled. You were wrong. Kale's voice hardened. Seren, my mate, my queen, carries winter wolf blood, the sacred bloodline you thought extinct. Theron paled. Impossible. See for yourself. Seren felt the fire rise. The shift came seamlessly, woman to wolf, She stood before them in white fur, eyes blazing with ancient power. Silence. Then, one by one, wolves dropped to their knees. Not because Kale commanded it, because something in their blood recognized what she was. Elder Vorath pressed his forehead to the ground. Forgive us. We did not know. Seren shifted back, standing tall. No, you did not know because you did not care to look. You let me be mocked, beaten, thrown away. She stepped forward. The crowd parted. I do not want apologies. I want you to remember this the next time you decide someone is worthless. Her eyes found Aldrich. The Golden Prince looked shattered, horror dawning as he realized what he had lost. You could have had my loyalty, she told him. My love, my power. But you chose fear over faith. She turned away. That choice cannot be unmade. Lysara pushed forward. This changes nothing. She is still an exile's mate. Kyle laughed. Without a kingdom? He raised his hand. The mountain came alive. Warriors emerged from hidden passages, hundreds, thousands, an army built over 12 years. I have always had a kingdom. I was simply waiting. His hand found Seren's. My father's throne was stolen through treachery. My birthright stripped by cowards. For 12 years I planned. He smiled the smile of a king reclaiming what was his. Will you stand against us, or kneel and join what we build? One by one, alphas knelt. Theron was last, face purple with humiliation. Aldrich remained standing, eyes locked on Seren. I am sorry, he whispered. She looked at the boy she had loved and felt nothing but emptiness. Goodbye, Aldrich. She turned her back on him forever. Kale pulled her close, kissing her temple as the moon reached its peak. How do you feel? Seren looked at the kneeling crowds, the army behind them, and the future spreading wide. Like myself, she said, for the first time ever. Kyle smiled. Welcome home, my queen. As the wolves of Thornhaven raised their voices in a howl that shook the mountains, Seren lifted her head and joined them. She was no longer the broken girl they had thrown into the snow. She was the winter wolf, and she had only just begun.